this is always a really fun opportunity for me because we have a chance to just kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and share, not from my perspective or any of the experts' perspective on how this is actually implemented and impacting clients and the community, but we get to hear directly from a handful of wonderful both CPAs and advisors that have been kind enough to join us up on the panel here. So what I'd like to do is just kind of start, if we can, and maybe I'll start with you on my left, if that's all right with you, Yami, unless you want me to head to the right first. No, you look ready. So if you could just introduce yourself in terms of, briefly the background, hat you wear in the partnership, so CPA or advisor, and where you're in from.
Okay, so my name is Yamarika Sui. I'm a CPA. I have a practice in Naples, Florida. And what else?
I think you nailed it. That was just fast. All right.
There
Next.
we go.
Marilyn Prevoir, Southwest Florida, and I'm the financial advisor.
Yep. So this is Partnership A, we'll call it. Partnership B is represented. Go on.
My name is Ron Elwood from the Phoenix area. My advisor partner, Rob, took a COVID test Tuesday and failed it, so he could not attend today. He was vaccinated as well, so it was a breakthrough case. But anyway, I am the CPA sort of in the partnership. Most of my practice is CFO oriented. I don't do much traditional CPA stuff. However, I maintain a CPA license because it was hard to get and I don't want to let it go.
My name is Brett Lane from Austin, Texas. Been a CPA, I guess, about 20 years. Kind of took traditional accounting path, national firm, regional firm. I was a controller for 2 years for a 200 employee public relations firm or company. They got bought out by a big billion-dollar company. And then, but I really like the variety of public accounting. So just been in that my whole life and enjoy it, and looking forward to more opportunities in here.
Hal Cromwell, I'm an advisor in Austin, Texas. My background is insurance primarily. About 95% of my business for the last 25 years has been life insurance. And the last 17 years has been within inside a property casualty employee benefit shop.
So when I got Rob's, you can hold on the mic, I'll just bounce over to you. When I got Rob's email, Ron's advisor partner in the model, I think last night, if not 2 nights ago, about the COVID, I thought, ooh, would love to still have you on, Ron, but it would be great to get another partnership. So this was just a happy hour conversation last night, which in fact, it was an email to you and it was a happy hour conversation with you. So I really appreciate them on the spot agreeing to do that. And what we try to do is kind of ask people that represent different types of partnerships and different levels of maturity within the model. So you guys have known each other for a little while, but it's pretty recent that you actually started formally engaged working with us in the model. So that would be kind of one perspective. You and Rob, I think I remember you coming out to an event, I want to say 3 years ago, probably 3 years ago at one of our events. So, it's been a few years now. And then you came out to an event, but it's really been within the last, I want to say maybe 6 to 12 months where you've actually fully engaged at this point. At that point, you were at another firm, you've since left, and now you're on your own. So it's kind of the different life cycles of partnerships here. One of the things that always comes up is the story of how you met. So maybe we can just quickly, and you can choose who tells the story out of the two of you, but how did you meet and specifically kind of engage in the conversation about working together within this model?
So we did have a unique situation where our accounting firm had done the tax returns for his insurance company, PNC company, for over 20 years. And then, so I was looking for more partnerships, more relationships, and we met Hal and the owners over there. And then about 2.5 years ago is when he first introduced me to this, and I was like, no.
I was like, nope.
I thought it was a typical referral model. I've known, no offense, dozens and dozens of financial advisors, have done that typical referring relationship and was honestly just too busy. And so you get into that compliance mode, backwards looking, accounting compliance, and that's what took up all my time. So Hal and I met and reconnected a few months ago and started going through the system and just learning education about all the different tools in the tool shed and all the different things we can do through this group. So it's been great.
I'll just add real quick to that. What happened is 2.5 years ago when I first got in, I made the mistake of thinking I had to learn everything, right? And what was transformative for me was the book Who Not How, just like they were talking about. And that caused me to come back around at the beginning of this year and just say, to heck with it and dive in. And that was really it. Unfortunately, when I decided to dive in, he'd had enough as well and our timing intersected. But I decided to dive in rather than learn. And by diving in, I was forced to learn, right? And partner up.
Good.
So Rob and I actually met about 30 years ago, and then my family and I moved and we kind of lost contact. About 3 years ago, I was visiting with a client, a mortgage broker guy who had offices in the same building that Rob's offices were in. And then he called a couple days later and said, I want to start this networking group. And I said, I've had enough of networking groups, but if you want me to come and sort of visit with you about it, I'll do that. So there were about 5 of us that met, one of which was Rob. We visited for about an hour. I kind of gave them some suggestions. And a day or two later, Rob called me and said, I've joined this group in San Diego. I can take a couple of CPAs with me to this tax planning conference in November. I think this was 2018. Do you want to go? I said, sure. So we made arrangements to come over. We met and drove over. In the middle of the night, 5 hours, got here, went to the conference. It was actually really fantastic. Typically when I come to these conferences, I'll go back and say, okay, I learned these things, which clients will line up with this? And Rob and I were actually able to do a fairly significant deal in February, April of 2019. So kind of solidified that relationship.
Love it.
So when I opened my practice, the reason why I decided to open it is because I knew that I wanted to do more for my clients. I didn't know how much more could I do, but I knew that I wanted to be proactive. So here I go. I opened my practice in 2018 by myself, and I decided that I wanted to create a proactive model. So I started talking to people about it, and somebody happened to meet Marilyn before and said, you guys need to, get together and have a conversation about what you want to build for your clients, and primarily focusing on business owners. That was my idea because I was a business owner before I was a CPA. And so talked to Marilyn, and we just were talking about it, and everything was really pretty. And she was talking to me about the process and how I had to do this. And I met a few people, but what really broke everything for me like wide open was coming to one of these events. I came at the event that you guys had in June 2018 here in San Diego, and it made me realize the value that I could provide and the type and the caliber of the advisors that I could bring to my practice without pretty much spending much more than my time, which is valuable, but not that valuable. And so I, at that time, didn't have the capability to take on the full experience. It was just me doing everything, billing, processing. So it is a big time investment, but I knew that I wanted to build the practice towards being able to put it in the future. So that's how the partnership actually came alive like 6-8 months ago.
Love it. We'll piggyback on that if you don't mind.
Sure.
So human nature, obviously, in an ideal world, we would like snap our fingers and change what happened immediately, and we would create massive success overnight. Relationships take time to develop, and this is a relationship, right? These are all genuine relationships. So I would say 90-ish% of the partnerships that begin don't make it to the point where they are here. Can you give any insight on, from your perspective, what the two of you have done differently to make it through the time period that it took to build the relationship, to go through the first bumps, to start seeing some success and to where you are today?
Well, I would say building the trust. I'm very confident on that I have a partner by my side that I can trust my client with. One of the most important thing is, like, I have never seen Marilyn put any sale on any of my clients. So that to me, it's huge. It's all for the benefit. We do cost analysis. She does so much for them. And at the end of the day, it all comes back to what is best for these clients' current needs, challenge, goals, expectations. So, it takes time. And I do agree that it takes time to get to the comfort level, but you can cash up really quick on who is trying to fool you and trying to sell stuff to your client versus who has your practice and your client's best interest at hand. So
Good answer.
I don't even know how to describe it, but Yemi has always had so much passion that it made me want to invest in her, because I knew that she had the ability to be that perfect CPA. And it's been a lot of time. And to me, it's amazing to look at how our relationship has developed. I mean, we're to the point where we're having conversations together about rebranding the practice, a new name, a new logo. What do we want to do? I feel like we are truly business partners in every sense of the word. And I am truly committed to her. And I know she's truly committed to me. And that's hard to find. And it does take time. And I would say that our relationship is still evolving. And I can't wait to see where it is another year from now.
Yeah, that's great. Would you have anything to add on that about you and Rob?
So Anton's right. These are relationships, and you have to develop them over time. So Rob and I jumped in with both feet. We had about 12 hours of drive time that first weekend.
That helped.
where we had time to discuss things. And on the way from here back to Arizona that time, we determined that in order for this to work, it had to have a regular pattern to it. And so we decided to meet weekly, whether phone or in person, and review our accountabilities together. And that's worked because we're always kind of focusing on, okay, what's the next stress? What do we need to get done? Otherwise, these relationships tend to die because there's nothing happening with them. So we make sure that we're always doing that. We also took it a step further. We did some things socially with our wives together, and some things that outside of that help us with that breadth of understanding of each other, which has helped.
Yeah.
I would say core values and similar risk tolerance. The biggest thing a CPA is going to be concerned of is messing up that relationship. So you have to be trustworthy and know that they're not just selling a product, that they're really, the client's best interest is the most important thing. And that's it. I mean, so we had similar experiences with his interactions with his clients and then mine as well. So that just worked well. It was a good fit.
So what I hear up here is commitment too. Just to speak to what Brett just mentioned. So in the environment that I work in, I work with 18 PNC and employee benefit producers. And the biggest thing I can't do is mess up that relationship, right? I've got to be very careful because they've got recurring revenue. And if I mess that up, I don't get leads or introductions. So that served, I didn't know it at the time. I've since figured it out that served us very well, because Brett sees that and he knows that he can trust me because I've been doing the same thing with the people in my shop for years, right? The other piece is commitment. Brett has 4 partners, is that right? Yep, 4 other partners with him. And I've stepped out within the firm that I work in to commit to this model. I'm out there. This has to work, right? And so I've committed. He's in a similar position. He stepped out with his partners and said, I'm going to do this. So that level of commitment that we both have makes, I can only speak for me, I'd say, now that I've committed that intensely, what am I going to do? And what that means is I'm going to do this model because I don't know what to do on my own to do it. So I do the model. And what's happened is by doing the model, we're getting some early success. We're just at the end of our 90-day coaching, and we're already having some significant success. So I'm a true believer at this point.
I like that idea, that mutual commitment. I've never heard it actually explained exactly like that. Just a side question. You mentioned weekly meetings. Is that something you guys are doing, meeting weekly? Yep. And the two of you. Yep. And text and phone calls. Yeah. So some level of open communication, but ideally starting, and you recognize us hopefully harping on this in the training, but starting with the expectation of weekly meetings. If you can't do it year round, like at least bi-weekly, but it takes time to develop that relationship. All right, so can we talk just briefly, and you started it, so I'll go there. What's some of the things that you've either started in your case helping clients with, or that you guys have been able to do with clients with your partner or the model?
Yep, sure.
So experts, specialists, etc.
Again, Brett and I are pretty early. We've walked, I think, 3 clients through the CIQ with 2 more that we're doing on Monday. And of the 3, we've placed an OZ case significant, and then we have a life insurance target premium of 111,000 in underwriting. So, 2 for 2, that's kind of an eye opener. And 2 very excited. He just got his first fee for the proactive annual planning fee. And the shocker there was that the guy was selling himself before Brett could get it out of his mouth, right? It's like we were both just incredulous of how simple that was. So real early success is what we're finding. And again, it's just following the model.
Yeah, thank you.
There was one more that was succession planning as well. So transferring from the mother to a daughter ownership. They already had an ESOP in the plan, so 49% is ESOP. Anyway, so that was, the biggest thing with this group is just the tools. I mean, so, well, I won't get off topic. I'm sorry, but anyway, we've had some good success so far, so we appreciate it.
How much time do you want me to take? Rob and I have been fairly fortunate. We right out of the gate, we left this conference in 2018 with some things in our toolbox. And I had a client that was 10, 12-year client, starting to look at selling his interest in a business. And we were able to take these tools that we left here with and implement them immediately with this client, which produced significant fees, which we're both pretty happy about. But part of what I wanted to mention there is had I not had the relationship with Rob, we probably would have just ended up with him dumping this money into a savings account or going down to a retail investment firm and being stuck in some retail investments and not really fit very well. Rob was able to take this and make a really specific plan for what to do and how to do it. And so we've moved forward from there. We have another one. We happen to have a mutual friend, a very large landscape company in Arizona. Husband goes in for a minor medical procedure and codes and dies. Funeral, dies on Tuesday, funeral on Saturday. We're meeting with her on the next Tuesday. And come to find out that the business was in severe trouble. The husband had been, shuffling things around to make payroll. They had payroll coming the next Friday, didn't have, $100,000 payroll. They've got 10,000 in the bank. So we marshal the reasons. One of the things that we've done with the family office model is that we use the resources in this group, but we also have some local resources. We're a real estate broker and things within our local area. So we very quickly analyzed the situation, come to find out the business has about $1.6 million of in net operating loss carry forward out that extends past the new carryback period. They have about $1.5 million of capital loss carry forward personally. She owns a building that's worth about 1.7 million, has 250 of depreciation recapture. And so we started to put this all together. We called our friend, the local, one of the more successful local commercial real estate brokers in Arizona. We called Leroy, and that's his real name. We called Leroy. Within 2 days, has a cash offer on the building. So, you know, we involve her tax preparer, we involve some estate attorneys and some other things. And then in the business, I took a quick look, did some analyzation, and in landscaping, you have maintenance and you have installation. And typically in landscape companies, they'll try and run maintenance to cover the bills, and then the installation is sort of where they make their profit. Well, maintenance was losing money hand over fist. And so we pulled in another landscaping client of mine, large landscaping contractor, to help advise on what to do with that business. Immediately, we jettisoned off the maintenance contract. The manager of that division wanted to buy it. We basically gave him the contracts and sold him the equipment. So we have that going on, and now the business is profitable because they're just doing installation, and she sold the building. So she has some cash. They didn't have any retirement, and Rob was able to take that and do some really good investment strategy with that now she's, you know, she has to be careful, but she has more of a future than she had before. And so we took this whole model from kind of a national level to a local level. We're able to pull in people very quickly and make that work in a very tender and difficult circumstance for her. So
Yeah. Yeah, I love that example.
Right. Yemi and I both agreed early on in our partnership that we really wanted to focus on business owners. That's primarily all of her client base. And she has very deep relationships with these owners. I mean, she doesn't just do their taxes. She was already ahead of the curve. So we very much focused on business advisory. We have 6 clients right now as of January 1st, 7 that are on business advisory, which means we meet with them on a regular basis. It's supposed to be quarterly, but it turns into as needed because they do need so much help from us. That has been amazing. That's a reoccurring revenue stream that we have. So it's nice to start off the new year knowing that that's on the books, and we're going to keep adding to it. And then as we're working with these business owners, other things just literally fall on the table, you know, and it's because you're having the conversation, you know, we're sitting there, we understand everything that's going on, we're finding the opportunities. So do you want me to just go through the list?
Hold on. Do you want her to go through the list, or should we? Would you? All right.
I wasn't sure what
As soon as you said that, everybody's like, go on.
It's crazy. Things just fall out on the table. You know, we have a younger business owner, they're not even 40 years old, running a successful construction company, 4 kids under the age of 10, no will, no trust, $500,000 term life policy that they happened to take out when the first child was born because they were going on a trip. We did everything. We used Helios. They didn't have a ton going on. You know, they don't need a Craig Stone estate plan yet, but we did a Helios trust. We analyzed all the life insurance. I'm still going through all the details with them. At a very minimum, we just got $2 million on both of them. They're very interested in LTC. We decided to wait till after the holidays. We're going to be doing nationwide long-term care policies on both of them. We already have a meeting scheduled to go over a DB plan with them, which we probably won't do the whole thing. We'll probably just do the 401k for this year, but we're going to get them set up to go forward. We've got a couple other DB plans that we're working on. Cost seg on what, 4 or 5 condos in a commercial building? 5 condos in a commercial building. And we've got energy credits set up for next year for a client. We're just waiting for him to close the houses for the end of the year. We've got several clients that need succession planning within the next 5 to 8 years. We've got 5 active cases with Craig Stone right now, primarily business planning, entity structure, getting them set up. One of them is going to plan to transition the business to an employee. Another one, I'll let you talk about Optima. Just incredible stuff. And just to look at these 7 clients, I mean, I can see literally years of work, and that doesn't even include the tax planning only clients, which we're booked solid for the next 2 weeks. I mean, our schedule's already full to start going through all of those. So it's just going to keep growing and growing. But I would love to have you talk about Optima for a second, because that's really cool.
So this is a client that it's a very sophisticated client. She is a CPA and a financial advisor. Husband is a financial advisor that have left dad to go into Congress. So I'm not talking about, somebody that got lucky and is as dumb as you get as a business owner and doesn't understand a thing. And she created she went into schools, charter schools, things like that. And then she created a foundation that's managing 7 charter schools on the state of Florida. Very promising. They're going national after. And she started creating a virtual program for these charter schools. Wanted to bring in an investor and was using local counseling for it. So she presents the investor agreement. And we really didn't, I'm not a lawyer. I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I don't know, Marilyn, what do you think? So we went to Ian and we got some feedback from the team. And the feedback was like, you need to talk to Craig. Well, it ended up that the way that the equity and the compensation structure was done on that agreement, she wouldn't get any money because she was only putting intellectual property into it while the investor was putting all the hard money into it. So it was a disaster. We pointed out a few things. She is fully engaged now on advisory services, recommending new clients right and forth. And as busy as she is, we did a client event. She stopped by, even though she had other 3 engagements going on the night. So she is very invested in the relationship. And this was a brand new client that somebody said, hey, you need to talk to Yami, like you may need her under her team. And she has like board of directors, CFO, which she brought every one of them to the table last time that we met. I think it's a really cool thing happening.
Somebody that you would ideally work with. So however you define success, but they say you need to talk to Anton. You need to talk to Yami. You need to talk to Brett, right? It's not like us out there trying to compare somewhat insignificant, like commoditized differences within our practice. It's like, no, this is a situation you need to talk to this person because that's how good they are. That's how good the value proposition is. I loved that. So you're welcome. Let's talk about for a second, and we've kind of touched on this, but that was a little bit about like how this has impacted clients that you've all have worked with. How has it impacted your business and maybe even you business or you personally kind of now, like up to this point, and how you see it impacting things moving forward?
Well, from being just a sole practitioner, which had the best of the intention, but really not of the capabilities, I have become this very unique place in the middle of Naples, Florida. You don't see any of this. You don't even see the big firms going into any of this, where I feel like there is no competition. I feel like they're privileged to get to work with a system like this. Like I get to choose who I work with now, and I get to choose who is paying attention to the advice that I'm given. If you're not, then why are you here? You can go to the corner, right? So it feels really powerful.
For me personally, it's been a complete transformation. When I joined ERT, 4 years ago now? Probably 4 years. It was because I was looking for a better way. Being a traditional financial advisor, I was always very much about, big picture and planning and doing a thorough job. But In Southwest Florida, there are annuity salesmen on every corner. There's actually probably more annuity salesmen than Publix, you know. Um, and I hated what I was doing because I was being compared to that. And I wanted to find a way to do what I knew I could do well for clients. I have reached the point where my existing book of business, I call them my legacy book because I still have to service them, but all it does right now is take up my time. All of my focus is on work with my CPA, to the point that as I was traveling out here, I got a message from a prospect that I had talked to probably 5 years ago. And they're ready to retire now. And she was all desperate. We got to see you right away. Da, 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 da. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't do that anymore. But
How did that feel?
outstanding, really. And it's not that I don't appreciate my clients. I don't do that anymore, because when I'm working with Yemi and her business owners, I feel like I am at the level of professionalism that I deserve and that I've wanted all these years. And I don't want to deal with that little stuff anymore. I want to work with these business owners.
Finally doing something at the level of professionalism that you feel like you deserve or are capable of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it. Any comments?
So being involved my resolve to be more involved in the proactive stuff is even greater. So my background is a little different than a lot of CPAs. I started out in public accounting, moved out into some controller, CFO, COO, president positions, and then made a decision to come back and start a practice because I saw the need for expert advice on a part-time basis for sort of CFO needs. But I always kept this legacy of tax work because that's where it always been, and it made me feel comfortable to come over here. My resolve has really gone far now to exit the compliance work and go headlong into the proactive planning and that kind of work because there's much more effect on people's futures there.
A huge mindset shift. I mean, that's the biggest impact it's had for me personally. Just being able to add value to clients. Why I got into this business is to help people, and basic helping clients with things that they don't want to deal with, doing tax returns and paying taxes and hopefully minimizing those. But I realized you can only help so many too. So instead of just, looking at everyone and everything, I think I can have a huge impact on, a specific number of clients now that I can really bring value to that we weren't before. I mean, simple as that. No one's been doing that. So this is the difference to me. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah. So that last part was interesting. Having a huge impact. So maybe a bigger impact on less clients, only because scale and time, bandwidth.
Yeah. We were talking last night at dinner, and that's what I've identified. You look at your client base and you look at who you can help the most, and it just kind of slaps you in the face that you're spread too thin and you don't have that ability to take the time to really meet with, do planning, and add additional value. So that's been big.
So I'm in a property casualty employee benefits space with about 18 producers, about a $20 million revenue shop. And I've always felt for years, it felt like I'm sitting on a gold mine, but how do you mine it? How do you mine it? Because it didn't work to try to change everyone's view of what a property casualty shop was. You don't go to a property casualty shop for advanced tax planning, blah, blah, blah. Well, this way, how you mine it is this process, this structure. I don't have to teach them anything before. I just have to get them into the model, the CIQ. And in just the little bit of time I've been doing it, right now, I've got a case with Alex. We've got a case with Bruce. We've had an opening with Randy, and that one ended up being an OZ case. So we just introduce until they bite, right? Till they grab one and it helps them. So my point with all that is, you know, I've just decided I am a true believer, and I just jump in and do this. I'll tell you sort of a funny one. It's maybe kind of silly, maybe kind of stupid. I don't know, but I've got a defined benefit plan that's been in place for about 6 years with a law firm, roughly 10 million in it. I went with principal because I didn't know where else to go when I put it in, right? Because that wasn't a space I was familiar with, knew anything about. Well, now I've got an introduction just to review it with the client, I just went to him and said, look, things have evolved. There's new opportunities. Are you open to an hour of your time? I can't promise you're going to want to do anything, but what I can tell you is it'll be time well spent. We'll both learn something. And the managing partner and the president of the firm, the law firm, both said yes, and we're going to do that. Well, that's the deal, right? Just do it. I don't know what's going to come of it, maybe nothing, but I never had those kind of tools at my disposal to be able to do things like that in an efficient way. I'd have to go out and research the heck out of it, right? Because I was scared to death I was going to blow what I already had. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I trust what's going on here. I trust what's brought to the table.
Yeah, and I think in a way, not knowing the answer is proving the proactive nature of the question. If you already have an end goal in mind, you're actually trying to sell something. If you're going into it without knowing the solution, then you're asking questions open to wherever that conversation goes. Let's pause for a second from my questions, because I would just like to check in. Questions that you have as you're sitting here. Lloyd, first hand up. Do we need a mic for Lloyd? You want me to just repeat it? What do we want, guys? I'll just repeat it for now, Lloyd. So for the live stream, the question was discussing business advisory. What kind of services and how are you defining that?
Well, we go through the process, right? We do the presentation, then we go the CAQ. And that is with every client that I'm doing an introduction to the advisory services. The CAQ, I don't know if, I'm assuming you have seen it and you have done it. So it's kind of a tool that we utilize to create conversations with the clients. But at the same time, it does give us like a laundry list of things that they have expressed that they need. We may identify even more through those conversations, right? So we go through it, we look at that list and we say, well, usually they need that much. And we agree depending on what they want to concentrate, right? We have a client right now that we are dancing with them and they have a very huge laundry list and they want to prioritize everything. And we're like, well, this is like a strategic because we will be with you every week trying to come up with solutions on all these challenges that you need. And we need to bring a specialist in. So the advisory fees are for our times to spend with you, identifying the issues, right? At the beginning, it's a little bit not that proactive in one sense because the challenges are there already. And going forward, it's making sure that we minimize those challenges. We convert those challenges in, so like we bring the solutions before, you know, they are broken, to be honest.
And then can you just did you touch on the service levels and kind of how you structure that?
I have a minimum fee, right, to the practice itself, even if they come, because I do have clients that are not on the advisory level yet. 1 and 2, we cannot take too many clients at the same time because it does take a lot of time. And so when I'm introducing, when I do an introduction, even to a client that I know that it's not on an advisory service level yet, I do have the levels that my practice offers, right? So I have the basic accounting services, which includes reviews, tax preparations, and then they see from the very beginning that they come into the practice, you know, proactive line, proactive, strategic, and kind of like a pricing scheme, right? Like it gives them an idea of how much can they be looking at. And they're always asking questions. So what is this? Well, no, you're here, like I'm reeling you back, but this is what it is. And we're here for you for when you need it. Or if you know somebody that needs it, we're here for them, kind of thing.
What's the basic level?
For
of-
accounting service,
Yeah.
$5,000 to bring you in as a client. And you can get there many ways. People say one tax return, no. It doesn't have to be one. I'm not going to charge your son W-2 $5,000 tax return, right? But it's a combination. I have clients that are only at the accounting service level and they are $25,000 client a year, just on that level, depending on where they are, right?
And you?
No bookkeeping. I don't do bookkeeping. Yes. Mhm. Mhm. Well, I think,
The question was around, can you talk about the process with the client and how you handle that?
yes. I think it's very important to establish distinction within the levels, because then you're gonna get where you're doing the proactive light for $500 and they want the strategic, right? And on the engagement letter, we do identify exactly what we're doing for you. And I have a very separate engagement letter for advisory services than for accounting proactive services, right? So they know exactly on both of them, what is it? It is listed for them and for me, because at the beginning I was just creating everything and it did come and go. And I'm like, no. I got to explain myself all the time why my tax planning fee could be included on that $5,000, but if I have to bring an Alex, or if I have to bring a Bruce or a Greystone, no, that fee is not on the $5,000 a year. And like, this is the level that I can provide, and this is how much I can save you in taxes. Now, do you want that savings? Well, you're going to pay for it. So.
And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think what I'm hearing, your basic tax prep work or package is going to be $5,000 a year. Then you have proactive light, which is on top of or separate than the 5,000, and that's going to range from maybe, I think you said 250 a month to 500 a month.
Yes.
Then you have a proactive, which is 500 a month to 1,000 a month.
To 5,000.
To 5,000 a month. And
month.
then your strategic is going to be 5,000 plus. It's kind of a custom. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Brian.
Brian, hang on a second.
Oh, Mike. Got a mic coming for you, Brian.
Really cool learning about your experiences. Thank you. Curious, are you licensed in everything? What are you licensed in? When did you get licensed? Do you share revenue in everything that you do? Do the advisors share in any tax planning revenue?
On our case, I'm just a CPA, and I'm working on my insurance license.
Ooh, it's a tough exam.
It's-
You're gonna.
It's the 60 hours for me. It's the 60 hours. So I'm working on that so that I can participate on the revenue. On the advisory fee, the tax work, it's my fee. So I cannot participate in anything security or insurance because of the licensing that requires. And I'm perfectly fine with it. I was not participating before, and I just get control of it now. And on the advisory fees, we split everything 50-50.
What about the specialist? Like you have an expert fee, you're working with the Jeff Deckman, and there's a share coming in. How do you handle that?
It will depend on what it's allowed. So if Maryland is allowed to participate, we will do that. 50-50 as well.
Perfect. Did you have something?
So it's kind of funny. The very first client we put through was a business owner client of Brett's that had sold her. She's got a business and she wants to pass the business to one daughter and the other daughter's out of the business. So estate equalization, a life insurance policy. So when we did the CIQ and you could see that coming, and a month later, Brett was licensed.
Only took a few days. A few days
Yeah.
later, huh?
So, and I love it, right? Because now he gets it. I mean, he gets it. So.
Got it. Do you guys mind sharing at all, like how you share that?
Yeah. So part of it is I've got folks that I answer to within my firm. And so we just worked out a commission split based on the size of revenue, because, the really small stuff takes sometimes close to the same amount of work with the exams and all of that. And so we just set out, we've got 3 different commission levels and split levels for the revenue that we share. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, basically 50%. We don't mess around. We make it easy. We both want to feel good about it. There's more than enough to share.
Good.
So we have a premium finance deal going for one of my clients right now. I will be taking the insurance exam in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, it's not, but I just haven't ever done it. Other than that, those that are eligible to be shared, we share 50-50.
Other questions? Charles? Bob's
Charles,
coming over
wait
for you.
a second.
Marilyn and Yami, did I hear strike? You've got a client that you're doing this for that is a CPA and a financial advisor? And how did that work?
How does that work for her taking the advice, or like the dynamics?
So, that's potentially a conflicting business. You're working for your competition at that point.
Well, no, because she's not really practicing that anymore. So she is in the business of consulting. She has created her own business, and it's consulting and creating these charter schools from the, so nothing related to financial advisor or CPA work.
Lloyd? Bob's coming at you.
Thanks. You had mentioned you have 4 other partners in your firm. So how is that working as far as, you being able to allow to go do your own thing with the model, or getting any of them involved, or is that an issue at all?
So I just took it upon myself to start the process with Hal. And if we're successful, I'll let them know about it. And so, I'm kind of kidding there. They know what I'm doing. They know what I'm trying to do, what the point is, how we're going to roll this out, kind of firm wide, different ideas. I think it's a process. So like they were indicating, it's identifying those clients you can help the most. And then, so all of those clients will be identified kind of firm wide, and then we'll walk through. I have another person at the firm helping me as well. So we're trying to go through the process, have some wins, get some successes under our belt till we can show, hey, this is valuable and this is how we can do this going forward. So it's a process.
Yeah, and just kind of a, comment on that, because I've seen a lot of relationships like this where an advisor might be approaching a firm that has multiple partners. You just got to remember, like, relationships are built between 2 human beings. It's hard for one person to develop a relationship with 4 partners simultaneously, because everybody has their own relationships and preconceived notions and other things. So I think the way they did it is what we would encourage. Unless there's multiple partners that really want to be involved, it's best to find the one that's most inclined or excited to move forward and start there. And then as that develops, obviously you can kind of bring in the other partners.
And I was going to say that I truly believe that money talks, right? So revenue gains a voice. And because I'm so jacked up about the model and so into it and have so much committed to it, that my tendency is to want to over preach it, sell it, right? And I got to back off a little bit. We got to get some cases. So what I would suggest is, if you can get your CPA to get on board and get a couple of cases in, get some revenue, it'll gain a voice. That's what we're both doing.
Yeah, and I think, and I appreciate that. And just to kind of piggyback at what's coming to mind, the thing that I've seen impact the belief in the partnership the most, obviously a case is kind of one thing, but it's really hopefully just a sign of a happy client. Because when you have a raving client, whether it comes from an introduction, like you've got to meet Yami, or it comes from, thank you so much for helping me with this, Like that speaks, volumes.
Just to that point real quick, we did have a business owner that sold his business, ton of money, but he had multiple partners. So we got introduced to him after we provided a solution for him. He did introduce us to other partners as well. And it's just, okay, this
One
is,
of them who we're meeting.
Yeah.
That's one of who we're meeting on Monday. That we did a deal, an OZ deal with the 10% partner who sold the business, and the one Monday is a 30 or 40%. So exciting.
Yeah, love it.
A big firm.
Mm.
I was just saying, like how Paul talks about it, like how he made the model work within a huge firm, where they were like the proactive team, and then there was the compliance team. So that can always be done if the other partners cannot jump in.
Yeah, very good point. Paul Latham, for those of you that didn't meet, but he ultimately grew his accounting firm to have about 250 employees. So, I mean, it can be structured in any size. Yes, question in the middle of the room. Yummy.
So with your close partnership, have you felt the need to create your own LLC? Are you still paying like as a consultant to each other when you do these types of transactions? How does that work?
As of right now, we're separate companies, but Yemi has just recently, actually, we got to finish the paperwork, put me on payroll. And that's kind of a next step. And the most important reason for that is to give the clients the confidence that I'm, a permanent part of this firm. So we are working toward that. We haven't had a conversation yet, but there's always the possibility that we would, discuss making it a true legal partnership together.
Let's take two more. And you one, and then we'll one more after that.
Oh, what you just talked about, this is to you, Anton. Do you have, from your 30,000-foot view, looking at what you've created here, some ideas on how best to structure what you just talked about, just based on what you've seen in the interactions you're having?
Yes. So again, I think the relationship is a core aspect that we all need to understand. And people have their unique personalities and goals and risk tolerance and ideal client mix. So I would say, think about it like, for those of us that are married, we probably dated, got to know each other, and maybe we went into an engagement phase. Some people are happy living together, right? They don't need to get married. Other people want to get married. So there's different levels of this relationship progressing. And I think being strategic and smart about it, even if one person's super excited, like just give it the time to develop. So that way you're building that base of trust and value. So when there are hiccups, because I mean, have any of you not had hiccups? Well, you're pretty young, but plenty of hiccups already, right? I mean, there's no way to introduce something like this or work with clients or do anything new without hiccups. And so you need that foundation of trust. So I would say, just build it one step at a time. It might be faster for some than others. But ultimately, if the visions are so in line where you want to fully start a legal, partnership, it's totally possible.
I want to share a quick thought. So I had a couple of hiccups, jumped into the model, went through a few CIQs, had some solutions targeted, took them to my broker dealer. No. Well, they were saying no to me because I do very little, or up to then had done little to no securities business. Why take the risk or the time to learn something for a guy that's not bringing any revenue? Well, I just want to bring that up because I came to Anton and Ken and they helped me find another RIA relationship that is significantly more friendly to the solutions. So all that to say, you're going to have hiccups, but these guys are seeing and hearing the hiccups. It's nothing new usually. And so just bring it up to them and they'll help.
Yeah, that's a good point. I appreciate that. And I would say, yeah, like bring us the hiccups. Let us know what isn't working as much as what is working, just so that way as a community, we're continuing to evolve and grow and deliver more value. Weekly calls. Yep, weekly calls. Plug in. Any last questions? I've got one more for the group, which is good timing wise. All right. Let me just ask, and I'll start on this side. If there's one thing that everyone listening right now is taking away from this last hour together, what would you want that one thing to be?
You got to jump in. You just got to jump in.
For the CPAs, I'd say, identify and communicate your value.
Consistency
Consistency and
in meeting, in going over your lists. I typically, I'll leave here today and I will list out the things we've talked about and I'll start to put client names next to it. That's what I did the very first time. And, lo and behold, Mike's name started coming up on all sorts of things. And so then we decided how to go about that, but consistently just going through that has been key.
consistency.
Building a successful partnership takes time and patience. There are no shortcuts, and both partners have to be willing to do that and go down that road together to get to what you see here.
And for CPAs, I would say trust the people and trust the process. I haven't met anyone at ERT that I don't feel that I'm kind of taking advantage of, because I feel like I get way more value than what I'm actually paying for it.
Appreciate that. Very good. So this is not the most comfortable thing, being up on a panel like this, taking questions, not knowing where things go. So if we can, two things. One is if I could have somebody come up so we could get a photo of us standing together. But while we're doing that, if we could just please give them a round of applause for their participation. One, two, three. Perfect. Thanks, bud. All right. So what we're going to do, thank you again so much. Love it. What we're going to do is we're going to break for lunch. So we have lunch set up out there. I'm getting the thumbs up from Nadia as we speak. We will take an hour for lunch. If you are not in Elite Mastermind right now and you kind of want to understand what is being referenced over the last couple of days, we didn't have it planned to discuss, but I'm happy to kind of come back in at 1 o'clock, which is like a half an hour, and talk just a little bit more about that. I'll share more details and answer any questions. So some of you I'll see in about half an hour in here. Otherwise, I'll see everybody else in about an hour. And if you're an Elite Mastermind, you want to come in and hang out with me, you're welcome to do that too. Thanks, everyone.